Hey, turn the fucking camera off. I'm not dressed yet.
Avatar The Last Airbender is fucking awesome.
Yeah, you can call me a fan.
I'm gonna go ahead and get this out of the way right at the start. I couldn't give a fuck whether people want to label Avatar an anime or not. The fact remains that it's better than nearly any show you put it up against. I know we're far from the end of history, hopefully. But when we do get there, Avatar will go down as one of the greatest shows ever made. With one of the greatest casts of characters ever written, a world as natural as our own, and a level of detail that ensures the viewer is never pulled out of the experience, Avatar The Last Airbender is perfect.
Would you like how I said the title of the video? In the video? Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought it was dumb too.
An often under-discussed aspect of Avatar that plays a massive role in some of its most powerful moments is its sound design.
This shit fucking slaps.
Sound design does so much to increase the recognizability of a show. You know a JoJo's punch when you hear that gunshot. And you know Toph is fucking someone up when you hear that rock break. Unique sound effects go a long way in making a show's world feel distinct from others, and helps the viewer separate and keep track of different worlds in their heads. This is the core goal of sound design: immersion. Avatar has many great examples of immersion through sound, with moments like at the end of The Southern Raiders where the viewer is audibly put under an umbrella as Katara bends the rain. But sound doesn't necessarily have to be realistic to be immersive. This is clearest in Avatar's crowning example of sound design, the final Agni Kai. Aang vs. Ozai may have been the fight that the entire show was leading up to, but there was never any doubt about the outcome of that fight. Avatar's real final fight is Zuko vs. Azula.
Let's settle this. Just you and me, brother. The showdown that was always meant to be. Agni Kai!
You're on.
The final Agni Kai is an incredibly tense fight with essentially Zuko's entire arc riding on it. Given the intensity of the fight, the viewer expects a powerful and dramatic symphony to go along with it. But the soundtrack that does accompany the fight is a slow and sad orchestral piece, while Zuko and Azula's firebending becomes muffled and distant. It's designed to pull the viewer back and force them to reflect on the bittersweet nature of the fight. I recognize that there might be some confusion here. I introduced this fight as Avatar's crowning example of immersive sound design, yet here I am saying that it pulls you back from the fight. Allow me to explain. Going into this fight, Zuko finally embraced his kind nature, abandoning the life Ozai was forcing onto him. This is a fight that Zuko needs to win for the world to be able to start healing, and we know this while watching the fight, yet at no point does it feel good to watch Azula get taken down. Azula's only a young kid that wasn't shown love by her parents, and in a desperate search for her father's affection, she attempts to prove her worth to him by clinging to his ideals in an almost Stockholm Syndrome-like way.
Oh my god, this is the second video in a row where I'm talking about Stockholm Syndrome. I have a problem.
Azula's overconfidence turns out to only be a defensive wall that she put up, that we're forced to watch get torn down during the fight. The fight should have ended in triumph as the world finally began to move in the right direction, but instead, it ends in tears as we watch a person break. The show never stops to pull the viewer out of the fight and explain this to them though. Instead, through solely its usage of sound, it forces you to mentally take a step back while still watching the fight, to reflect on every interaction both of these characters have had up until this point, and come to this realization on your own.
And they call this a kid's show.
Since I sort of already started to, let's talk about Avatar's characterization.
Fucking nailed that transition.
In 61 episodes, the cast of Avatar naturally undergoes more growth than the cast of One Piece does in nearly 1,000. Alright, you got me more than most of the One Piece cast. If you want a prime example of Avatar's character development, look no further than Zuko. With possibly the greatest redemption arc ever, there's no shortage of people discussing Zuko's character. Which means what I'm about to say is probably more than likely unoriginal and a waste of everyone's time, but fuck you, I'm going for it anyways. To me, it's never stressed enough just how important the crossroads of destiny is to Zuko's arc. Zuko may have been introduced as a main antagonist, but he never quite feels like a villain. This only becomes more obvious after Azula's introduction, where we're shown what a real Avatar villain is, and we realize that Zuko is more confused than evil. As Season 2 progresses, Zuko becomes unsure about the path that he wants to walk in life, while Iroh tries his damnedest to get him to change for the better. But when the time to make his decision comes, Zuko chooses to continue down the path he set out on from the beginning. Avatar could have chosen to redeem Zuko here, but it would have been too early. Zuko still hadn't hit his lowest point. He still had the promise of regaining his honor and living a luxurious life as royalty. After having spent so long chasing this dream, he was unable to give up on it. While deep down he may have had one of the kindest natures in the Fire Nation, he was mentally conditioned to yearn for his old life. So rather than redeem him immediately, Avatar takes the time to show Zuko that his promised life was only a facade. Zuko couldn't unsympathetically stand by while innocent people were being hurt just for his father's conquest. It's against his nature, which is why he butted heads with Zhao, why he spoke up in the war room, and why he ultimately rebels against his father and joins Team Avatar. And sorry to those who think that a 4th season for Azula's redemption is a good idea, but this is the exact reason why that didn't and shouldn't happen. Zuko wasn't redeemed by someone else, he found redemption on his own. Both characters existed in a morally gray area where their evil nature is being forced on them by their father. Zuko was worthy of redemption because we're shown that the life his father wants him to live isn't compatible with who he is as a person. Azula, on the other hand, embraces Ozai's ideals, and at no point does she speak out against his actions in the way that Zuko does. Zuko shows that it's possible to redeem a morally gray character, but Azula left the gray area and committed to the life that Ozai wanted her to live, removing any chance she had at redemption. Toph should be the gold standard for writing disabled characters. She may be blind, but after becoming an earthbender, she learned to turn her weakness into her greatest strength. While touching the ground, it could be argued that Toph actually has the best vision of the entire cast, being able to see things not in her line of sight. By turning her bending into her vision, Toph goes from blind girl not able to fight to the strongest bender in the show if Aang isn't in the Avatar state. I mean shit, she literally discovered a new form of bending that was believed to be impossible purely because she used her bending as her vision. Sure, she may be stubborn and headstrong, but that's what you need to be a strong earthbender. And no matter how self-reliant Toph may seem, deep down she cares a lot about all of her friends, and would do everything in her power and more to protect them. I could probably talk about Iroh for an entire video, but for the sake of me being able to discuss other shows, I'll do it here. The thing that always stood out to me about Iroh's character was how different he was from what we're shown the rest of the Fire Nation to be. The image we're given of the Fire Nation is that everyone is a warmonger looking for global domination, but here Iroh is, a peaceful, wise sage who spends his entire day helping others. I was too dumb as a kid to understand why Iroh was different from the rest of the Fire Nation, and it wasn't until I first rewatched the show a number of years ago that I got my answer. During the episode Tales of Ba Sing Se, we see Iroh in an upbeat mood going out of his way to help the people he runs into while shopping. Then Iroh approaches a tree on a hill, the same smile on his face, seemingly for a nice picnic overlooking the city. But then he pulls a picture out, and as he sets it down, his smile disappears. The mood of the scene immediately changes as something feels off, and you start to get a little uncomfortable. Then as Iroh starts to sing, Avatar enters its most powerful moment as you realize that Iroh's helping others because he's haunted with guilt over his son's death, feeling responsible for not having been able to help him. To try and make up for it, Iroh commits to spending his life helping others whenever possible, but it will never be enough to erase his guilt. Iroh will always feel responsible for Lu Ten's death in some way, and is ready to spend the rest of his life trying to fix what he sees as the biggest mistake of his life. I could keep going on here, but there's plenty of videos on Avatar's cast, so why don't I go chop a couple of onions and we'll move on when I get back.
Brave soldier boy comes marching home.
Avatar's world building puts most other shows to shame. Other long-running shows may beat Avatar in their sense of scale, but none of their worlds come off as real as Avatar's does. A lot of shows, even some movies, tend to introduce exposition as it's needed in the story, either because it wasn't originally planned, or the writers or original author couldn't find a way to naturally work it into the story before it was needed. Avatar, on the other hand, goes for what I would consider a more natural approach. It takes a slower start with Season 1 compared to Seasons 2 and 3, to make sure that all the base lore the viewer needs is naturally explored without too many major story moments, so that the big story moments in the later seasons already have firm roots in the show, and the base lore is expanded on, rather than dumping completely new information on the viewer. Avatar also makes sure to fully capitalize on the world building is already established. Oh, the Kyoshi Warriors were cool, that was a fun episode. You think that's it for them, then bam, they're integral to the Season 2 finale. Wow, Iroh's a really strong firebender. Too bad he doesn't do too much with it since he gave up on being a soldier. Wrong. Not only does he express his strength as a bender by being able to shoot lightning, he goes the step beyond when he teaches Zuko how to redirect it. And in a satisfying closure to Iroh's arc, he ends the show retaking the city that turned his life around. It's details like this why I think my dad will still sometimes bring up Avatar as having been a fun show to watch with me as a kid. Okay, I mean Rocket Power too, but that's beyond the point. It's a show that respected the audience it was aimed at, and offered them a mature show that they could still connect to, and just as importantly, the parents and adults watching it could connect to it as well. Unlike my attention to this transition, Avatar has an unparalleled attention to detail. I wouldn't even know where to start in trying to point out every small detail in the show by myself, so here's Reddit to do it for me. Did you know? The animators took the time to add the stitching on Sokka's pants where Katara sewed them, a detail that wouldn't affect the show in any way, and would have gone completely unnoticed, but was added purely to maintain continuity. Or how about Sokka ducking Toph for all of 4 frames because she couldn't see the ore coming? Or the animators taking the time to draw Katara in the water droplets in her fight with Hama? Or Momo using the tiara that he had brought Katara to throw at the swamp benders, which is visible for less than 5 frames? As cool as all of this is, a detail at the end of the Season 1 finale is the leagues past them. After Zhao kills the Moon Spirit, Aang merges with the Ocean Spirit to push back the Fire Nation invasion. But if you pay attention, you'll notice that Aang only pushes the water. He never pulls it because he wouldn't be able to. I mean, this shit blew my fucking mind when I first saw it, and I immediately went to verify it myself. It's a detail that feels like other shows would have ignored it, just to have their cool action scene. But Avatar makes sure to preserve the logic of its universe without any sacrifice to the visual appeal of the scene. All of this goes to show the love and care that went into making Avatar. It's almost as if the creators planned ahead for people watching frame by frame, and made sure to offer them as rewarding of an experience. The fact that small details like these are still being discovered years later is an incredible testament to not only the quality assurance that went into the show, but the passion behind it as well. Avatar is a show that stood the test of time, and with its resurgence thanks to Netflix, is standing it again. It's rare to see a show so universally loved, but with everything Avatar has going for it, it's not too hard to see why. So the next time you recommend Avatar to someone, and they say, "Oh, you mean the kids show?" just tell them, "You're wrong and your opinion is invalid."
Boys, the channel's already working out for me. Just a little safety clarification on that last clip. I know it may have seemed like we weren't 6 feet apart like we were supposed to be, but it was just a film trick. It's all good. I put a different lens on my phone, and we were actually in different rooms the whole time. It's all good. Don't worry. But yeah, second video down. I'm still going strong. I would have had this video done and out last week, actually, but my original script was kind of dick-ass, and I didn't realize until editing, so I decided to rewrite it. If I'm feeling really nice, you guys will get a video from me every week, but I'm kind of an asshole, so I wouldn't count on it. Thank you guys for watching, subscribe if you want, and if you'll excuse me, I have to go kill Gwyn and end the Age of Fire. Oh my god. Nope.
Last take. You're gonna have me punch you while you're in a chair. You are wrong in your opinion. Sorry. I couldn't do it that one. You are wrong and your opinion is invalid. Neck. Maybe that's what we call it before we get injured.